back-to-back breaking news right this moment going on in the world news media's winter storms worsen Gaza crisis. Severe weather across Gaza's crowded refugee camp is compounding a dire humanitarian situation, with aid deliveries still blocked, leaving thousands at risk. I have one more breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Drone strikes reported in Russian port region. Drones hits a tanker near Rostov-on-Don. This is one of the largest port over there, causing deaths and damage. This comes as EU leaders hold critical talks over Ukrainian defense funding. Welcome to SATV's International Affairs, broadcasting live from SATV's Dhaka studio. My name is Rashid Kanchan. I will be your host, and I have a very distinguished, knowledgeable gentleman. He is former military officer. Later he became an academician, Dr. Nasiruddin Ahmed. He was a major in defense service. He is good at conflict, war and negotiation. He is very confident at international affairs as well. And from Washington DC, we will have Norman Flood Barnes, SATV's geopolitical correspondent, very experienced personality. Norman, let me begin from you. What are the latest news stories you are watching, you are monitoring from world's capital, the coldest city right this moment, Washington DC?
Good morning from Washington. Today we are waking up after hearing a speech from U.S. President Donald Trump last night, praising his efforts, his accomplishments over the last months in terms of bringing the United States back, America back again, making them great again. He stated that the economy is doing better than the people are thinking. Things are improving since he took over. More money is coming, and life in the United States is a lot better. This is a sharp contrast to what people are stating who actually live here. He has implemented a Christmas bonus to the military, which is a good thing, giving them some money so they can get through the holidays, and thanking them for that service. So right now, according to Mr. Trump, the United States is being very successful with the ceasefire accomplishments. Basically, he's claiming that he has been successful in ending the Gaza conflict and is working on ending the conflict with Russia and Ukraine. And the world is better. In his sense, everything is improving. A complete 360-degree turnaround from the last administration of Joe Biden.
Absolutely. All right, sir. Let me come back to the studio. Major Dr. Nasir is here. Sir, news says United States President Donald J. Trump has ordered, as executive order, a total and complete blockade of sanctioned oil tankers entering or leaving Venezuela. No tankers can enter into Venezuelan port. No tankers will be able to leave Venezuelan port. Escalating pressure on President Nicolas Maduro's government, the blockade targets Venezuela's crucial oil industry and has pushed global oil prices higher, while drawing a strong regional criticism. But the neighboring country's president, Mexico's president, started talking regarding this, urged the United Nations to avoid bloodshed amid rising tensions between the United States and Venezuela. Report says Venezuela will not go for retaliation decision. Venezuela will seek the attention of United Nations and other neighboring countries. My question is, what legal and diplomatic ramifications could arise from the US blockade of Venezuelan oil tankers? It is a new avenue of conflict.
Thank you, Kanchan, and warm greetings to my dear viewers. As you have rightly said, that this morning started with a very warm talk from the President of the USA, though it is very cold in the city of our other panelist. And it is unfortunate because you know that OPEC was established back in 1960, and one of the founding countries of the 5 countries which started the journey with the OPEC, Venezuela is one of them. And other countries were Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, and Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Out of these 5 countries, one country has come now under sanction, and which country is not again a very influential member at all of the OPEC, but they are giving the sanction, number one. Number two, in no way this sanction hampers their territory. It is not their jurisdiction. This is not the demography or the sea route or the sea portion of the USA. It is a completely different chapter. But again, they have imposed the sanction. As you have said, that legally what can be done? Legally many things can be done. They can go to international court, they can go to UN, they can sit with the OPEC. The avenues are there. But end of the day, fact remains that what USA wants, what Washington wants, what Pentagon wants, that is the rule of the world. That is the hard fact of the country. And on the other hand, you can remember that there is a new term we came to know, the shadow fleet. Apparently, there will be no tanker movement, but I will not be surprised if in the name of shadow fleets, some of the world tankers are being loaded and leaves the ports of Venezuela or even the neighboring countries, where Venezuela can very easily export their fuel or the other mineral resources. At the same time, I would like to draw another attention, another incident of the day, that is the rival 2 countries. Once upon a time, they fought wars back in 1967 and 73. That is a war between Egypt and Israel. They fought the war, and apparently they are the 2 opponent parties. But again, they have signed an agreement basing on the energy. Israel is going to export gas to the neighboring country Egypt, which was not done before, though there is pipelines and there are facilities, but it was stopped. Now they are going for a 15 years deal. So the world is now changing its motion basing on the energy, and same is happening, as you have said in the very outset, that things happening in between Russia and Ukraine, that is also based on the energy.
Absolutely, but I liked one question you have done. I think this question must go to Norman. Dr. Nasir says everything based on what Washington demands, what Washington wants, what Washington desires. If it is the bottom line, Sir Norman, the question is, could this blockade be considered as an act of war under international law? Though what Washington wants, this is the bottom line, as Dr. Nasir says. Mr. Norman.
Yes, thanks for the question, and good morning, Dr. Nasir. The United States, as my colleague suggested, has the ability to get its will. And right now, the will is to ensure that the current administration in Venezuela do not succeed. What that means is the United States has claimed that they want to get its oil rights back in Venezuela. They want to control the oil market. So we have a military right now staged to providing a flotilla, which is serving as a blockade to basically getting anything outside of Venezuela. The purpose is to provide a crushing situation for the current administration in Venezuela to not secede and to basically give up and allow the United States to come back and claim its historical rights to the oils in that area. This is not going well. Like my colleague mentioned, there's other ways of moving resources out to other countries or the land, and it's considered on the international field as a considered as an act of war. So we are now getting into conflict as we continue to seize more tankers coming in and out. The prospect of it conflict increases. Remember, Venezuela has friends in both Russia and China and North Korea. So there will be a what we call a workaround process. This blockade will not be accepted, and we're possibly looking at some conflict in the open seas, and hopefully it doesn't lead to more problems on the land. But right now, the situation is putting more pressure on Venezuela to make a decision. Are they going to have a military response or a political situation where the current administration leaves?
Let me get 2 points from Sir Norman Floyd Barnes. He has spoken on the based of perspective of United Nations own interest, and he's a journalist, so he has done some good questions, good clue to discuss more on this particular. I want to come to you, Dr. Nasir sir. How might this affect global oil markets and inflation? Especially I am talking about the developing countries. You know, we don't buy oil from Venezuela, but Venezuela is one of the largest oil manufacturing or oil suppliers to the world. If there are some problems, inflation and price hikes, it will impact in the Middle East, because Iran already decided to hike their price. Iran is facing domestic problems as well for the oil price. Without hiking the oil price, Iran cannot survive. So heat is coming from Venezuela to Middle East to Bangladesh. How do you see? Because Bangladesh economy depends on oil prices.
Yeah. Right. Rightly you have pointed out that the dependency not only for Bangladesh, it is for most of the developing countries and the industrial good producing countries depends on the oil price. And here I should recall that what is the purpose of OPEC? Creating the OPEC, the prime purpose was to monitor or keeping the production of oil resources under control, under supervision, and also fixing a price which benefits all the oil producing and exporting countries. But unfortunately, later on, the USA, they have developed some techniques which overshadowed the decision of the OPEC. Now, in one hand, you can see the Venezuela, one of the very largest oil exporting countries, mineral resource rich country, is under pressure, under sanction. At the same time, Iran is under sanction. Again, there is conflict between Ukraine and Russia, which hampers the export of mineral resources from Ukraine to other countries. So altogether, internationally, a volatile situation has come up already, and I am afraid it will be further accelerated, and for that oil price may go up, because nobody is going to now control the oil price and has the capacity of controlling the oil price. And if it goes so, this hit of this oil price will not only burn Bangladesh, it will burn many other countries, and in the process our economy, our export growth, our domestic production, domestic lifestyle, everything will be under serious question, and we are afraid that we cannot bear that particular loss if it goes that high.
Absolutely, to the point. Very loud and clear your position that Bangladesh is going to face this oil price because transportation effect will be there. Now let us check the SWOT. What is the strength of this Donald Trump's this move? What is the weakness of this move by Donald Trump? What is the opportunities he is looking for, and what is the threats? I have designed a question for very experienced Washington-based journalist Norman Floyd Barnes. Based on SWOT, what are the likely responses from OPEC states or China to increased US-Venezuela tensions? This question is popping up almost everywhere in all medias right this moment. How China reacts, how OPEC countries react. Sir Norman.
Thank you again. The question leads to other questions. how is the world going to readjust to this situation regarding energy, particularly oil, the access to oil? How do we get oil? That's one question one. Two, who do we get oils from? Three, will the prices of oil be a competitive at a competitive level, which we can afford and willing to pay? So right now, there's a conversation going on based on how do we get the energy we need, how do we get the oil in light of the conflict that the Western world is imposing on the oil-producing country of Venezuela and other things going on in the world. The conflict uh, actually all the global conflicts right now will affect the movement of resources. Energy, oil, gas, everything is being affected by these regional conflicts. So right now the conversation is based on how do we get the energy and the resources we need in spite of the current situation with the West and and how the West want to basically control the flow of energy and to control the flow of economic development in the country. So right now, there's a lot of things happening regarding a what we call a workaround in spite of and alternatives. So China, Russia, all the other countries are basically talking to these countries, every country, about how we're going to resolve and move forward.
All right, sir, let's check some historical background and administration from Washington to ease eyes on the Latin America. Does this signal or this incident a broader shift in the Trump administration's foreign policy toward Latin America? So far history says North America has always a good relationship except the revolution eras with Latin American countries. North America is the beneficiary of natural resources from Latin America. North America is one of the developing partner of Latin America. Why Donald Trump is shifting from the historical position for Latin America from North America?
Okay, to answer this question again, I will go back to SOT as you have rightly asked, Norman. First of all, you know, this is the time when if you talk about the strength, by virtue of appointment, the United States President, whoever is the President, popularly known as the Uncle Samson, US Uncle Samson, and he is the Uncle Samson, whoever is the President, he enjoys the total loyalty of the armed forces. From which party? That is the strength of democracy, that is the strength of USA. He comes from which party? Which ideology, doesn't matter, armed forces and the government
officials. Is this the reason they call their president commander-in-chief? Commander-in-chief.
So he enjoys absolute loyalty of the troops on ground with arms. So this is the strength of any president of the USA, and same goes to the President Donald Trump. So he has order for blockade, it will be executed. If he orders for something else to some other countries, it will be executed. So that is the strength. And the weakness at the same time that Donald Trump is under serious criticism even inside his country. His popularity graph is being going down. Internationally, nobody believes him because his allies like the Qatar, like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and many other countries, they were under attack from the US side. There was bombing on Qatar itself. So no one is now that much trusting the US president who is right at this moment. This is the weakness. And if you talk about the opportunity, as I should say, there's a wonderful opportunity in front of President of the USA, because Russia is not now coming up with new war scenario excepting the Ukraine side. China is also tolerating this tax war between the two countries, and Middle East also very softly handling the situation, not reacting. Internationally, this is a good opportunity for Trump to execute his desires. Again, it is a good opportunity for the Venezuela people as well. This crisis will increase when there is a embargo already imposed this morning. Oil export will be stopped and there will be economic problem. Any economic problem, once you are hard pressed against the wall, two things may happen. One, you die, or you jump forward because you have no space to go down. If the Venezuelan people face such a situation that they cannot withstand the crisis created for this world, so they will react. And finally, if you talk about the threat, yes, threat is that the shadow war, that is the militancy, or that is the proxy war, that will aggravate all over the world, and Muslim people and some other of the fanatic people, they may take revenge on different US bases, US embassies, US trade centers in and around the whole world, and it may happen even inside the USA. That is the threat I gauge.
Yes, sir. I really appreciate Sir Norman Floyd Barnes. He has shared with me one very significant news. The Senate of United States gave final passes on Wednesday to an annual military policy bill that will authorize $901 billion in defense programs, while pursuing Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to provide lawmakers with video of strikes on alleged drug boats in international water near Venezuela. This is a very significant development in United States Senate. The annual National Defense Authorization Act, which raises troops' pay by 3.8%, gained bipartisan backing as it moves through Congress. It passes the Senate on a 77-20 vote before lawmakers plan to leave Washington for a holiday break. Two Republican senates, Rand Paul and Mike Lee, and other 18 Democrats voted against the bill. This is a huge development, ladies and gentlemen. After the bill, I will come to our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Pantho for other news stories developing around the world. I apologize for a short commercial break.
সারা দেশে লাখো মানুষের কঠোর কর্মতৎপরতা ও নিষ্ঠায় এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস এখন 16 কোটি মানুষের হাতের নাগালে। দীর্ঘ 30 বছর ধরে বিশ্বস্ততা ও দ্রুততার সাথে সেবা দেওয়ায় গ্রাহক সেবায় এখন শীর্ষে। বাংলাদেশে গ্রাহক সেবার সাফল্যের পর এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস এখন বিশ্ব বাণিজ্য কেন্দ্র সিঙ্গাপুরে। আপনার যে কোনো পণ্য সিঙ্গাপুর থেকে বাংলাদেশে বুকিং এর জন্য যোগাযোগ করুন। এসএ পরিবহন প্রাইভেট লিমিটেড, লজিস্টিক্স পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস, 22 রবার্টস লেন, সিঙ্গাপুর 218302। ফোন 0065 629 24900। বাংলাদেশ থেকে সিঙ্গাপুরে পণ্য বুকিং এর জন্য যোগাযোগ করুন ঢাকা সহ দেশের যে কোনো 80টি শাখা কেন্দ্রে। এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস, আপনার সেবা সব সময়।
Welcome, Grand Palace Hotel, Dhaka. A majestic lobby blending timeless elegance with modern design. Experience 5-star comfort in suites and rooms. Sophisticated fine dining restaurant. Crystal clear swimming pool for ultimate relaxation. Modern gym and serene spa for well-being. Perfect venue for corporate events, weddings and parties. Seamless and secured, elegant and eye-catching design. Indulge, relax, discover the first 5-star chain hotels in Bangladesh. Grand Palace Hotel Dhaka, 22 Kakrail, Dhaka, Bangladesh.
Welcome to Grand Club at Mirpur 10 Dhaka. elegant spa and wellness facility for ladies and gents. Play pool and snooker in international standard billiard zone. World-class gym facility with exclusive equipment for man and woman. A restaurant of delicious local and international cuisine. Fully air-conditioned building with spacious banquet, car lift, sky view rooftop restaurant, all in one. Grand Club Limited, Mirpur 10, Dhaka.
কি এমন জিনিস যেটা সব লোকে খায়, ছোটরা খেলে পরে কেঁদে মায়ের কাছে যায়, বৃদ্ধ লোক খেলে পরে মাথায় দেয় হাত, যুবক যুবতীরা খেলে পরে এদিক ওদিক তাকায়?
ছেড়ে দে শয়তান, ছেড়ে দে, দেহ পেলে আমার মন পাবি না, ছেড়ে দে।
কোন ফলের বীজ নেই বলো দেখি দাদা, বলতে না পারলে হবে তুমি গাধা।
মন্দিরা চক্রবর্তী কার সাথে প্রেম করছে?
আমি এখন মা হতে চলেছে।
চিনেছি তোমারে আকারে প্রকারে দিনের আলো রাতে।
Into conflict, misunderstanding, pushing each other. I want to go to Washington. Norman is there. Norman, you heard that Shamsul Alam Pantho has raised many indications on world news, breaking stories, trends and patterns. I just want to know from you, Russian President Vladimir Putin very seriously warned Russia may expand territorial gains in Ukraine if peace talks fail. It is a kind of threat to the European leaders amid ongoing hostilities and diplomatic talks involving the US and Europe. But I have received one more comments from Belarus President Yashchenko. He said urge a swift action to end the war while the US remains engaged. The US is warning European partners not to use frozen Russian assets for Ukraine's war effort, highlighting transatlantic disagreements over funding and peace strategies. I am just hopeless to ask you a question. United States, whatever desire, they go for that action. As per Dr. Nasir also said, what Washington desires, that will actually take place. My question is why United States is warning European leaders not to freeze Russian assets? Norman.
Thank you for the question, but the answer lies in the question. Why the United States is urging the EU to relax the sanctions against Russia. My response to that is basically the United States has had conversations with the Russian counterparts on how to end this war. And one of the concessions is basically the issue of sanctions. Part of this plan is to have the United States have influence and impact on the EU about releasing and giving back some of these sanctions that's being imposed by them into the Russian economy. That is one of the what we call the pieces that is added on to this ceasefire. Is basically is that as we talk about no NATO, ending the war, providing military assistance in Ukraine, and moving forward, the issue of sanctions. Frozen assets by Russia is also included in that table. They part of this thing is basically that if we decide to end this conflict, you have to release some of the assets that we have, Russia is saying, so we move forward. So it could be a deal breaker if they do not, and at the same time we have to look at how this whole scenario is going to fit and it's going to look like in the future. We may have a conflict that ends in terms of fighting, but Russia still is putting pressure on the EU. through what we call a silent or soft attack, basically through uh, cyber attacks, cables, cutting cables, reducing energy, uh, drones. All these things are still going on and will enhance and will continue as we move forward. Now, this will happen regardless of the outcome of Ukraine, because the ultimate goal is to weaken the EU's stance. Even if they put troops here, the EU will have to focus on their own survival. So that will be a very dynamic process going on. Even though Russia said, okay, we'll allow you to do these things, they'll still continue what they call their war. They have what we call a frozen war, where we will continue to probe to the point where you can't focus on the mission of protecting Ukraine. You have to learn and you have to provide protection for your own homeland. So this is a very dynamic situation development. It's part of Putin's strategy is to keep the pressure on, and we will persist with our attacks until you do what we want you to do. Thank you.
All right, I would like to read out one very popular quote on regarding Vladimir Putin by former British Prime Minister Mrs. Theresa May. He says Vladimir Putin aggressive, expansionist and revisionist. I found both the three words very fascinating. I want to come to Shamsul Alam Pantho. I just want to know, sir, how credible is the threat of Russia expanding military operations beyond current fronts? This is one part. Another part is one European journalist has talked with the French 24 Live TV today. He says Europeans are doing the biggest mistake. They are sitting all together enjoying black coffee or black wine. They are taking decisions to freeze the Vladimir Putin's $211 billion freeze in Brussels. This will push Vladimir Putin to attack the entire Europe.
Thank you so much for the question. Well, first of all, for the first part, I want to add on that Russia is an enormous country. Demographically, if you speak, maybe the population is not as much, but in geographic terms, it is a huge country and it has its nuclear capacities, and as of last, as I know, they were testing out some kind of a nuclear torpedo system for to be used in weaponry or for to be used in fighting. And we know that recent times the Black Sea has been very activated. There has been numerous ships that have been hijacked off the coast of the Black Sea. And you see countries such as Turkey are saying to not pursue such an invasion or not to pursue such an event. To a certain degree, when you opened about the European leaders, we can also include the United Kingdom because Europe as a region is under threat because of this Russia-Ukraine war. There is a story today that I want to share with all of our viewers regarding this very issue. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said former Chelsea Football Club owner Roman Abramovich should release £2.5 billion from the sale of the team to help support Ukraine or face legal action. Speaking in the House of Commons, Starmer was responding to questions from MPs on what UK is doing to support Ukraine as the war with Russia enters its fourth winter. So once again, I would want to mention that it does have real life implications in various fields. Today, we are seeing the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom to gather fund from whatever means necessary, such as asking former football club owner Roman Abramovich for such an amount. So there is tensions in that region, and I really do believe that Europe really does not have any more friends.
All right, sir. Norman has time limitations. I will come to Dr. Nasir later for a summary comments because I need Norman right this moment. Before asking a question, I will tell you a short story, which story is very popular since hundreds of years. It is called Alibaba and 40 Thieves. Every night they get together, they go to do operations in rich man's house, but when operation done successfully, they fight each other when they come for divided assets. My question is, what are the strategic implications of the US and European countries' disagreements over using frozen Russian assets? Is this the implications or indications from Washington? Don't do it, I'll do it later.
Thank you. The issue about frozen assets, Russia is a very large country. They have a lot of resources that have been frozen. Their country itself needs money. They need assets. They need resources. That is the biggest issue. Their people are not thriving. Their base is surviving. So the government knows this, and they have a mentality of we're going to be the aggressor. We're going to use our resources, but at the same time, we need to get our assets unfrozen. We need this to survive daily. So you are going to see Russia put more pressure on the EU regarding these frozen assets to release these assets to the point where they'll be pestering backdoor operations that's going to cause the EU countries to basically think twice, make decisions that may be country sensitive. My country is first. I have to think about protecting my country, and it may cause a divide in the EU.
Appreciate you, sir. Appreciate you, sir. I know you have time limitations. I really appreciate. Enjoy the rest of the day. Weather is very cold. Take care of your health, sir.
Thank you.
All right, sir. Sir, I want to come to you. Can diplomatic pressure coupled with sanctions realistically, technically, logically force a ceasefire? As you have the military background.
Yeah. To be very honest, Kanchan, just yesterday I was a little optimistic as the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, said that he is considering not to join the NATO as the war, was ignited on this particular question. And he said he is considering not to join, basing on the assurance by the European countries for his safety and security of his own country and the people. So that was quite a light at the end of the tunnel to end the war. But surprisingly, as you have rightly said, Donald Trump, the president of the US, said, don't freeze the assets of Russia.
Later he will do.
Yes, which are in the European countries. That means what he wants. If he really wanted to end this war, as he committed before his election, that it will take 24 hours, his son-in-law gone, his spokesperson gone, everybody is trying but could not do anything. Right now, the president of the Ukraine himself said that he is considering not to join. That means he is considering to go for a negotiation as a ceasefire. Maybe out of diplomatic efforts, maybe out of his pressure, out of his consciousness or the domestic advice or pressure from his own people, he is considering. You said diplomatic, I am enlarging it, domestic pressure or other economic crisis, everything altogether he has made up his mind and he has expressed it over the press. But this sort of announcement again encourage Russia to put more pressure on Ukraine, and if there is more and more pressure, there we cannot expect a ceasefire whatsoever is the diplomatic pressure.
So you are not
no, I am not optimistic right at this moment.
I want to go to our international affairs commentator. He has huge study on this particular. Sir, there is only one country which is called a proxy country of Vladimir Putin. His name is Belarus. During the personal problem or military problem or rebel problem inside the Russia, Belarus took the initiative to go for a negotiation, and Vladimir Putin listened Yushchenko regarding his problem. I just want to know what role can the smaller nations like Belarus play in mediating or going for a ceasefire or making agree Vladimir Putin for a ceasefire, because Vladimir Putin listens only one person, that is the president of Belarus. This is what is popularly known in the world.
Thank you so much for the question. Of course, yes, it does share a very similar name with Russia as well. So once again, there has been instances where there was prisoners of war, prisoners of crime who were held up in Belarus, and who the leader Lukashenko, if I'm not wrong, he had released these prisoners as an act to show US that no, we can also work as a mediating nation between this issue. And of course, Vladimir Putin does understand the importance of a nation like Belarus just on its border. It is also sharing, Belarus itself is sharing borders with other European nations. But I find a similar, a harsh similarity in the past and the present today. You know, NATO wasn't born in the last couple of years. NATO was born as a consequence of World War II. How Germany's Adolf Hitler had started fighting, and the entire region had become destabilized. So the NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, they had come up with many countries in Europe, while Canada and America were also a part of this, a popular part of the US and the Allies, how these terms had been so popular in the times as well as today. But the support from Americans administration, the US administration led by Donald Trump in his 47th presidency, seems to be faring away from the support of Europe while trying to support a giant like Russia. So that creates a new dimension. We understand that Europe understands this, and they have formed their own kind of grouping called the Coalition of the Willing, a grouping of nations from Europe, including the United Kingdom, who swore an oath to protect and rebuild Ukraine after the war ends. So once again, this is the latest that I have regarding this issue, but we can understand that this war is spiraling out of control. No kind of soft power projection, no kind of dialogue is being used as much as other war fronts around the globe. And if you look at the entire globe as of today, war is very imminent, very, very imminent. I must stress the fact that I have not seen such escalatory events in the last decade that I have seen in this 1 year.
I'm sure I should give you a little time to respond, Shamsul Alam Pantho, because he has used some very tough and powerful words. He is assuming something is coming towards us we cannot afford.
Yes, you know that after the Second World War, there was a division in the world, that Cold War was going on, and with the fall of Russia's supremacy, and again the world was unipolar, that was the supremacy of the USA, and after that what happened, you know, the war has been divided in different regions. In the name of world war, maybe there won't be any forces together, there may not be any alliances together, but exist together. But again, you see, if you talk about the different countries, what is going on in Venezuela, what is going on in Middle East, what is going on in even Asian subcontinent, if you talk about the Thailand and the Cambodian border, what is going on in many other countries. So altogether, it's a huge business of the war material producing countries and the companies, and for that the negotiations are being quite getting unsuccessful. You know, for negotiation, as you have asked Mr. Partho, whether Belarus can do anything or not, the country like Qatar could make so many negotiations. It's very famous, the Doha talks has come up many a times in the limelight. So many crises has been solved by dialogues only based in Qatar, and you know, they have successfully mediated between many of the conflicting forces which were engaged in the proxy war. So the size-wise, Qatar is not a very big country, military-wise it's not powerful. Yes, they are definitely a rich country. If I can recall back in the time of Shahid President Ziaur Rahman, he being the president of Bangladesh, a country that time our economy was not that strong, we are not that advanced. Even at that stage, he took the initiative for peace negotiation between Iran and Iraq. You remember, you had been covering this war for quite long time. So this, the size of the country, economy of the
doesn't
country,
matter,
or the strength of the country doesn't matter. It is the charisma of the one man who takes the initiative, number one. Number two is that what is the attitude of other stakeholders.
Right.
Negotiation, it doesn't depend on who is taking the lead, but it is also depends on what others are thinking about it. It's not only two parties, the parties who are backing these two fighting parties.
All right, sir. People and respected audience often ask me why you talk always about the war, conflict, fighting, natural disasters. Don't you have any news of development? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I have a news of developments. While entire Europe, Russia, Middle East and North America is preparing for war, China has given a different news. China launches 113 billion free trade experiment. Sir, it is experiment. Beijing carved out Hainan Island with its own customs regime to boost trade and attracts business, echoing earlier free trade zones. See the difference between the China and other world. I have another development news from my side. I want to tag it as a development news. First time after 1973 with a brutal war, Israel has gone for a agreement with Egypt to export Israel's gas. It is also a development because two countries were supposed to be in fighting. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back soon after a short commercial break.
Eye-catching design. Indulge, relax, discover the first 5-star chain hotels in Bangladesh. Grand Palace Hotel Dhaka, 22 Kakrail, Dhaka, Bangladesh.
Welcome to Grand Club at Mirpur 10 Dhaka. Elegant spa and wellness facility for ladies and gents. Play pool and snooker in international standard billiard zone. World-class gym facility with exclusive equipment for man and woman. A restaurant of delicious local and international cuisine. Fully air-conditioned building with spacious banquet, car lift, sky view rooftop restaurant, all in one.
As I have been indicated some news that Israel has signed an agreement with Egypt, two rival neighboring countries. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu approved $35 billion natural gas deal with Egypt, seen as a key diplomatic and economic shift in the region after intense conflict in Gaza. A trilateral summit with Trump and Egypt's President General Sisi Al-Fattah is planned. I want to come to our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Panthu. How do you see this reshaping diplomacy? Some commentators are telling it's a gas diplomacy, it's a money diplomacy, it's a diplomacy to make Israel safe from Egypt.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kanchan, for bringing the topic regarding Israel and Palestine as a whole. I would rather comment on that territory as Palestine and not give any regard to it being called Israel. There are some certain news that I want to bring out today. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu appeared before the Tel Aviv District Court to respond to corruption charges brought against him in the so-called Case 4000. I believe that this Prime Minister had led the country into war and by doing so has harmed the common civilians and citizens of Israel, those who live in Tel Aviv. On the other side, there are some news that I want to share. 11 Palestinians were injured as the Israeli army shelled several areas in the Gaza Strip despite a ceasefire agreement in place since October 10th, according to various medical resources. Now, before I go on to the next part of my segment, this is important as Israeli Prime Minister is announcing the approval of a major natural gas agreement with Egypt worth almost 35 billion US dollars. How the ceasefire and the fact that Egypt is, the Sharm el-Sheikh declaration happened in Egypt, which said there should be a ceasefire in Gaza. Without respecting the fact that even after a ceasefire almost 300 to 400 Palestinians have been killed, how the Egyptian government goes into a monetary deal with Egypt, or whether or not this is a blatant or a flagrant violation of agreements between the two sides is yet to be questioned. I believe this is a smokescreen, as we were discussing during the break, if not a distraction. But I want to give some of the context of the outcomes or the consequences of this outcome. You look at Japan. Japan is very far away from Israel or Palestine, but even there they understand the heinousness of Israel. There's a story. A hotel in Japan refused to take a reservation from an Israeli travel agency because of actions taken against the Palestinian people, according to Japanese media reports. So once again, the entire world, including the 200 nations, are seeing this flagrant violation of Israel on a daily basis.
Very well said, sir. I'm so impressed. Let us check the military perspective from you, as you have the military background. Sir, how might the gas diplomacy or gas deal reshape geopolitical alliances in the Middle East? Or do you think this is a pressure from Washington to Cairo, go and do it?
Very rightly you said the last word, but before that let me recall an incident of Yom Kippur War that took place in 1973. There was 6 days war in between Egypt and Israel in 1967, and again there was another famous war in 1973, popularly known as the Yom Kippur War, that is a festival of the Jews in that particular region. So during that, before that war, there was a time for Hajj, and Egyptian generals and very intelligence people, they all were given leave to go for performing the Hajj. In fact, that was a masking, that was a diversion, that was a attempt to disguise, that was an attempt to mislead the Israelis, so that once they saw the military generals are going for Hajj, intelligence people are going for Hajj, they decided there will be some no more offensive right at this time. And in fact, that was the part of the plan, that they will go on leave and the second layer will go for the operation, and it was a successful operation. At the same time, this gas diplomacy, or what you said, that the gas export, this, I think this is the masking, because the whole world is talking about the atrocities going on in Gaza even after the ceasefire. Even the Pentagon said they are annoyed with the activities of Netanyahu. President Donald Trump needs more and more money for waging war in Venezuela and other sectors. So right at this moment, for the fund of Israel, maybe this is an attempt. And why I am my comment is backed by another incident, that is Donald Trump talked to the US, the president of Egypt just 2 or 3 days back. He had a telephone conversation with the president of Egypt. What was the subject of the conversation, we do not know, but the outcome says definitely there was some indication that this proposal is coming to you, you accept it.
So fascinating, so fascinating analysis. We are running out of time, ladies and gentlemen. One quote as a journalist I always remember: what you see on the media is news. What you don't see is the policy and strategy. What you listen is just from a spokesperson, a designed, misguiding information. So this is called misinformation or disinformation, whatever you say. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of the program, but as part the design of the program, we wish the top notable world celebrities today. Today is a birthday of Brad Pitt, one of the Oscar-winning actor, very popular. And there is another person I used to love his wrestling acting, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Today is the birthday of both these two very notable personality. From International Affairs of SATV, we want to say happy birthday, guys.